Hi, this is Andrew Creeggan. Happy to be making my Toronto mic debut. Just took the GO train in from Rouge Hill Station. Nice to be back.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1944, 1944 of Toronto Mic'd, an award-winning podcast proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery. Order online at greatlakesbeer.com for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Visit palmapasta.com for more. Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. Catch a game at Christie Pitts this summer. No ticket required. Fusion Corp's own Nick Iones. He's the host of Building Toronto Skyline. And Mike and Nick, two podcasts that you ought to listen to. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, making his Toronto Mic'd debut, it's Andrew Creeggan. Andrew, now is the time. First of all, hello to you, sir. What a pleasure it is to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I was going to say, let's crack open. You've got a hop pop in front of you that is a non-alcoholic beverage from Great Lakes Brewery. If you want to pop it on the mic, now's the time.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Cheers to you, Mr. Creeggan.
Smells good.
People love it. People love it. It's you let me know what you think. You can review it, honestly. What do you think so far? One sip in.
Yeah, after a hot bike ride in, this is hitting the spot.
Do you bike a lot?
Whenever I can. Yep.
Okay, but you did take the GO before bike. You didn't consider do the full thing on the bike.
I'm not as hardcore as that. It would have been a good 2-hour ride or more. Maybe a day ride. I don't know, but don't quite have the time.
Now, I want to, right off the top, Andrew, I want to offer my sincere condolences because you're living in the Maritimes. That's not why I'm offering condolences. Like, my condolences, you live in the Maritimes now, but you're in town for a very sad reason.
Yeah, over the past year and a half, my dad's health has been an issue, and up and down over that time, and so I'd had come in many times to just take the shift from Brother Jim and Brother John, and this is the weekend that he finally decided that it was time. So,
oh yeah, I'm so sorry to hear this. I mean, would you mind maybe a word or two about your father, who I guess he passed away on Friday?
That's right, Friday. Thanks for the opportunity. Bernie Creeggan, and he was a great guy. Right now, I'm just going through all the aspects of his life that stood out. One of the things that stood out was a great dad. You know, was a teacher, high school teacher his whole life, a guidance counselor. I think changed a lot of lives, and I think was a great guy. And musically, was always playing piano and loved choirs. His piano style was particularly interesting in that he played in one key only, F sharp. And for anyone out there who knows what a keyboard looks like, it's all the black notes. And once you get the trick of it, it's kind of fun to play on. So that was his style, and he played this sort of stride piano, all his own style, and usually 40s, 50s tunes were his bomb, and really was always fun to listen to him play, although often he chose difficult moments in our family history when he would play. For example, when we were always late and he would be ready, he would start playing piano. He would get on my mom's nerves. Bang! And he said, I'm just waiting. But anyway.
Sounds like a great dad.
He was a dude. Burn Tough Craig Creeggan, we used to call him.
And you got your middle name is you're named after him.
Correct. Yep.
See, I'm connecting all these dots over here, and I know obviously I know of your brother Jim. I wasn't aware of brother John.
Yeah, He's the oldest one, known as the ultimate Creeggan.
The ultimate Creeggan. Is he also musically inclined?
Through the ears, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's always got something to say about the music that he takes in, but no, I think he was famous for playing bass when he was growing up and didn't really touch the bow to the string. He was, moving the hands. It really looked like he was rocking, but he actually wasn't making any sound.
Well, your dad passed on this love of music to all three of you. It sounds like, and I didn't know. I actually honestly didn't know you now call the Maritimes home. Like, how long have you lived in the Maritimes?
It's been now 16 years. I married a gal from Moncton, so there we be.
Okay, that'll do it. You moved there for a gal.
Oh, love takes me everywhere.
I just recorded with a woman named Tanika Charles, and she moved. This is how much she was in love. She moved to Edmonton for a guy. Sorry, she moved for a guy, but that didn't work out. She came back here. But so, what's it like? I hope you can be honest with this, and if it's too personal, just tap out and we'll move on. But your father utilized maid.
He did, yeah.
So, I happen to think that's very progressive that we have this option. But I'm curious, as his son, like, what do you think of this? That you can set a date and choose the time of your passing.
Yeah, it's not something you really think about a lot growing up, or seeing your dad, or thinking about life. We're all afraid to die, but then to have this option. In general, there's all kinds of I guess breaks that they put on it, and all those breaks make sense to me. But in our case, he wanted it. He expressed it clearly over several moments, and I just know that it was the right thing. And so, and I'm just grateful that it exists, and the way that it was performed and went down was amazing. And so if someone can articulate it and wants it, I'm all for it. But it's not as cut and dry as that most times, It's a big question. What gives you the right to take your own life? And what gives the right to the medical profession to aid that? So it's some pretty heavy thinking going into it. But in the case of my dad, I think it checked all the right boxes, and it went down perfectly. And I have no doubts whatsoever about the fact that it was the right thing.
And how was your father's, like, prior to this, what is a procedure? I'm not even sure what the proper terminology is for when for maid, but were you able to have some sort of a party or something? I'm just trying to understand. I've heard of people, Mendelsohn Joe took advantage of maid, and some other people I know of, but nobody in my personal life has yet gone through this. But do you actually, knowing the moment of your passing, do you have some kind of a gathering, some kind of a farewell?
Well, it's up to the person, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So in the case of my dad, his wish was to have his three sons there. Our mom has dementia and Alzheimer's, so he made the choice that we tell her and we have a last visit, etc., but she not be there in the moment, just because it would have been probably a difficult situation. But that was a tough one to kind of get our head around. But that was his wish, and it was very, very chilled out, and it was the way he wanted it. But I've heard of other people that, I just read in the news the other day, a guy wanted to have some death metal to go out to a live band.
Right.
In Montreal. So it's like, everything's on the table, I suppose.
How humane, really. Like, you think about, this is how we treat we love our pets, right? We love our dogs. And when we find out our dog has a terminal illness and is in pain, we never consider, we'll let the dog live in pain until, the heart gives out or whatever. We do the humane thing. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. I think it's beautiful. Again, my sincere condolences to you, to Jim, to John, and you mentioned you came from Scarborough. So this is where you grew up, right? Scarborough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I guess you can imagine, you've heard some episodes of Toronto Mic'd, right?
Yep.
Have you heard any episodes with, who's been on? Stephen Page has been on. Tyler Stewart's been on. You heard any of the Barenaked Ladies related episodes?
Of course, I listened to Tyler's interview all the way through. That was like 2.5 hours or something.
You know what? I told you this in email, but it's true. When he visited, because he was a big fan of the podcast, and he came over, and we had that really long chat about everything, and it was quite amazing. Like, you know, he was driving and people in Agincourt and Super Dave Osborne, for example. Like, it was just amazing. Yeah. And I actually, honestly, after that, I go, oh, Tyler's going to be a regular. He's gonna drop by once a year. We're gonna just, you know, talk about pop culture. It's gonna be great. And he's never been back.
Well, I'll talk to him today about that. I'm gonna see him.
Oh, you're going to see him today. Okay, well, maybe he'll have heard this by then. We got to get recording here. So, okay, I'm dying to know, poor choice of words considering everything we've been talking about, but I am very interested to know how, like, who were you when you joined Barenaked Ladies, and how did you come to join Barenaked Ladies in Scarborough, Ontario?
Sure, I can tell the story, absolutely.
Yes.
So if you listen to the Tyler podcast, you know when he jumped on. And my story is a little bit before that and a little bit after that, right? So I'll start with the Backstreet Basement Boogie Blues Band.
Yes.
In high school, we used to we played bands, and brother Jim was the bass player. I was the drummer. So we were the rhythm section, and then we had various guitar players throughout the years. But the reason why they changed so much is because for one reason or other, they were always older than us, so they kept graduating on us. So we had the great gift, actually, to have so many and have so many different styles brought in by these guitar players. So we went from, sorry, I'm burping.
Okay, you know what? Listen, any burps you hear is because I gave him a hot pop, okay? What do you expect the man to do? You can burp on Troy. This is not a cue.
All right. Anyway, so... yeah, several guitar players, different styles. We're talking, you know, we started with, you know, blue suede shoes and then gradually moved into other styles depending on what the guitar player played. So we had a great time with a guy named Paul Harrison who loved Stray Cats and was like an amazing Stray Cats player. So Jim and I, you know, we were doing the double bass and the,
well, I got to tell you right now,
thing.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm very interested, except the very first cassette I ever bought on my own was Built for Speed by the Stray Cats.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Loved it.
So going through that, loved that, and started singing through that as well. And then we also had different singers over the time, but mainly this guy named Rob Warren. Shout out to Rob if you're listening. And then, you know, moved into more intense music, like when Graceland came out, I was in grade 10. And so we played, you know, Call Me Al. We played Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. And that was a doorway into, you know, world music, African music. And Lady Smith Black Wambazo was a great discovery. And then slowly moving into, you know, more jazz and progressive jazz, and then eventually Weather Report. And that's when we discovered Jaco Pastorius. And of course, any bass player, once they've discovered Jaco Pastorius, that's sort of the beginning of a long journey and beautiful, wonderful journey. And as a drummer, I accompanied Jim, my brother, through that. So Jaco Pastorius is actually one of my musical heroes. And his bass playing obviously is a reason, but also his just this fearlessness that he had and this incredible talent and, unfazed, you know, to do anything just because, you know, like rip out your frets and play fretless just because he wanted something, you know, or any styles. Like his first solo album, just to this day, is one of my faves. So anyway, I'm taking a long time to get to your,
I like
your question.
Listen, you're in the right place for detail, man. Just go.
All right. So, discovering all this music at the same time, there's another thread of classical music that is growing. Jim is doing, double bass, and I'm doing percussion. And in grade 11, my ambition is to become a timpanist, like a classical timpanist. And so I'm taking lessons and going that route as well at the same time. So, and third stream, learning piano. My mom was a piano teacher, and I already mentioned my dad who played by ear. So I was able to sort of take things from both of them. And so reading music through piano and percussion, and doing drumming and discovering pop music and jazz music and world music through percussion. And at the same time singing in choirs and all that stuff too. The Scarborough School's Youth Choir was an amazing experience as well. And the All Scarborough's Wind Symphony and the Toronto Symphony Youth Orchestra and all those things. So really rich musical upbringing. And then, so I mentioned these guitar players who kept graduating on us. Well, along came this music camp called the Scarborough School's Music Camp. You may have heard of this before, but this is where I met Ed Robertson. And Ed was a funny, I read his name. I remember saying, oh, there's another percussionist in this band at the Scarborough Music Camp. And I didn't know who it was. And I thought I knew all of the percussionists in Scarborough at the time. It's like, oh, I wonder who this is. And lo and behold, it was a guy in grade 12 who just was a neat musical guy and didn't really know how to play anything, but was so musical he could sort of get by on the drums. So we hit it off. Like, I couldn't believe we were just talking about this and that and the other thing. Rush was often a topic of discussion. And we just had a great time, just blabbing away during rehearsals of the Scarborough Music Camp. At the same time, he was also a guitar player, of course, and was getting together with a guy named Steve Page, who was always associated with the camp, was the camp driver. And why he was the driver when he was the same age as Ed is because he was gifted and I guess had already graduated, but still wanted to be connected to the camp. So he managed to get a job, a very ironic job, because Steve is probably one of the worst drivers I've ever seen. Anyway, that's a side note. So at the same time, me and Ed are having good times in these rehearsals, and he's also getting together with Steve and playing some of Steven's songs. And he knew Steve, and they went to the same school, blah, blah, blah. So eventually I invited Ed to come and play guitar with our band in our high school band. And that's, I introduced him to Jim, of course. Right. And that was an amazing experience. So I like to say that Ed learned how to be in a band by playing in the Backstreet Boogie Blues Band. This is, or the Backstreet Band for short, nothing to do with the Backstreet Boys. That was later.
What predates that. Yeah.
So this is like late 80s anyway. So
they might owe you something.
So I like to say that Ed learned how to be, a guitarist in a band, although he was playing in other bands. So it's kind of facetious, but we had a great time. He played in the Backstreet Band, and then eventually him and Steve were doing their thing at the same time. They wanted to boost up their sound.
And they were already going by the moniker Barenaked Ladies, right? Yeah. When they were a duo. So it's Ed Robertson and Stephen Page were Barenaked Ladies.
That's right. Okay. And we used to go down to the Last Temptation, and I remember going and see them bar, and I guess it was Kensington Market, right? So they wanted to have a special kind of holiday show, and they invited Jim and I to come and boost their sound. And the idea was not to bring bass and drums, but to have more acoustic instruments. So Jim's brought his double bass, and I said, well, I guess I'll bring like congas or something, because I was interested in learning congas at the time. So
right.
That's the initial sound of Barenaked Ladies, was these acoustic guitars, lots of singing, double bass, and congas. And I was in grade 13 at the time. And then we played for about 6 months.
Did you call that OAC at the time, like we did? You have a couple of years on me, but no one called it grade 13 when I was in high. They called it it was grade 13. Don't get me wrong; it was the year after grade 12. But for some reason, we never said grade 13. We called it OAC.
Yeah, I think you probably in my time it was kind of the transition was happening.
Okay. I was born in 74, so...
Okay, so by your time, I think it was officially OAC year. Okay. But my time, it was kind of a transition. I think we were the first time, or one of the last years, that actually the 5th year of high school existed.
Right, which is laughable. Well, my wife went to school in Alberta, and she kind of laughs at the fact we did 5 years of high school. Like, no one else in this country apparently was doing the 5 years of high school.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I always often have to explain that to New Brunswick folks. It's like, yeah, grade 13. That doesn't mean that I had to.
You were held back.
Extra. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. So this is like a Christmas time club show or whatever, where it's basically you and your brother Jim are joining the Barenaked Ladies, which at the time is a duo, and that makes 4.
Yeah, that makes 4. And so after that show, maybe we did one more, and Steve and Ed offered us to play in the band. And we were like, of course. I'd, in the meantime, applied for this Canada World Youth Exchange program, which was to be after high school. And I got accepted. There was a while there where I kind of talked to the band and said, guys, I was accepted to this thing. It's about a 9-month, break where I'd be going off to different places in the world. And they were like, yeah, go for it. And just when you come back, and then you can join. And so that's why there was a period there where there were just the 3 of them, because I was away on this program.
Right.
Which is a story in of itself.
Well, that maybe spend a moment, because we're talking 1990 here, right? So, I mean, the Yellow Tape comes out in 91.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just, things are starting to cook, but because we're pre-Yellow Tape here. But tell me a little bit about this Canada World Youth Exchange program. It sounds amazing.
It was a fantastic experience. Basically, it's known as a cultural exchange program. So it's not a mission, and it's not the Peace Corps. It's all about development. And it was started by a guy named Jacques Hébert, who was a good friend of Pierre Trudeau. And the 2 of them, while traveling, they kind of came up with this idea that more people should experience living in, other countries, or traveling through other countries, and really seeing the world, right? And so Jacques Hébert eventually founded this program.
Good accent, by the way.
Ah, merci.
Because my kids go to French immersion, but I have the worst accent you've ever heard. But I could hear them as they got older, as their accent developed. You've got a good accent there, Andrew.
Well, I appreciate you.
I've got an ear for the accent. Okay,
yeah. Please. Well, that's one of the big themes of my life. You'll maybe get to know that as we talk, but the whole French element. Anyway, we'll get back to that. But so this exchange, basically you get together with a bunch of Canadians from across the country. You meet somewhere, usually a small community, with a group of young people from another country that presumably have done something similar. They've chosen people from across, the different areas of their country, or the socioeconomic groups, or the ethnic groups, or whatever. And you get together and you basically live for 3 or 4 or 5 months in a community somewhere. So in my case, I ended up doing 2 programs. I'll explain later why, but I ended up in Cowansville, Quebec, just outside of Montreal, and then ended up in Uruguay, South America. And so you basically live, and you have chats about what development means, what's going on in this community. You do projects, to help the infrastructure, paint, some community centers or whatever. Just sort of talk about what makes the people tick, talk about cultural issues, talk about languages and all these things, and just really get to know a culture through the people. And the Canadians actually learn probably more in the Canadian part, just because, holy shit, this is what Canada is. This is a part of Canada I had no idea about, and this is what makes the people tick in Cowansville, Quebec, and all those kinds of things. And then you go off to their country and then do the same kind of thing, and then come back a new man.
I'll bet. So you're there, what, you said 9 months? Is that what I heard?
Yep. About that.
Okay. So where's the band at when you return to Canada?
The band is playing, places like the Rivoli, Last Temptation, Sneaky D's, of course. While I was away, they started their, I know Tyler talked about it, they did a kind of a residency at Ultrasound Show Bar. And so during that time, they really started to build an audience. And of course, Tyler came in at a certain point during that time as well. And when I came back, it was like, oh, I remember taking my Canada World Youth buddies. We were just coming back from our trips, and we showed up at the bar. It was like Ontario Place or Harbourfront Bar or something. And we came up on stage and danced the what do you even call it? Anyway, one of those dances.
Macarena? What are you doing? The chicken dance? What are you doing?
The name escapes me. Yeah, it was one of those ones.
Right.
Take your right foot and take your left.
Oh, Hokey Pokey.
Hokey Pokey, yeah.
That takes me back. Hokey Pokey.
They had a really funky version of that way. So we went up, and I realized, holy shit, there are people here. Like, there's like this like a thing going on here. Like, wow, good work, guys. It's like, oh my God. And so, yeah, it was a different story when I got back. And there was even people kind of going, who's this Andy Creeggan guy? Like, what's the deal with that? Like, they already had ownership of the band, and there was this kind of furrowed brow about this new guy.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah. Oh, that's Jim's brother.
Yeah, this is Jim's brother. And so I had to sort of prove myself and also find a place for myself because, I technically would have been the drummer had we gone down the route, the natural route, I guess. But I hadn't got to that spot yet because I was still playing congas when I left. So I was like, I guess I'll just play congas and then maybe eventually move over to piano. So that's what ended up happening.
But when you find out, first of all, did you exchange, I don't know, letters with Ed or something in which he told you about Tyler? Like, when did you learn Tyler was in the band?
I can't recall exactly when, but yeah, there was definitely some correspondence, and of course Jim, I saw him regularly and talked to him regularly. So I knew something was up, and there was this Tyler Stewart character that I would have to meet. And
But what's your initial, I'm not trying to cause any Canadian rock waves here, but
hey, listen, my story is a
like?
very, very B part to something else. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering though, if you were planning to play drums in Barenaked Ladies and you go, you got the blessing to go away for 9 months, the Canadian World Youth Exchange Program, and you come back and there's this Tyler Stewart guy banging away at the drums. Like, was there a moment where you're like, hey, that's not fair? It's like being, it's like being the starting quarterback. You get hurt, and then the backup takes your job.
No, I didn't feel like it was unfair. That wasn't ever something. I think I left that behind in high school when I realized that music wasn't about, playing time. But I definitely had to deal with it, and I was okay with it. It was more an issue of what Tyler brought to the band changed it in a way that I wasn't totally comfortable with. I got to say right off the bat, I love Tyler, obviously.
Are you going to meet him later today or tomorrow?
Yeah, and I'll see him and I'll give him a big hug and we love each other. And it's no secret that I had to adjust to what he brought to the band, and there was definitely style-wise, there was a definite friction in the fact that he thought, he brought a propulsion to the band, whereas percussion-wise or drumming-wise, I brought something else. Like the main propulsion would have been between Jim and Ed, and Ed is one of the most amazing rhythm guitar players I've ever seen, and I've really was spoiled to learn. And I thought that Jim and Ed had this incredible rhythm connection, and when Tyler came in, I just didn't feel like it was as natural. And Tyler had his own propulsion, and there was an adjustment for sure. And then you add my congas to it. Sometimes it was just like redundant what I was doing. So like I sort of had to figure out where my place was. And one of the songs that kind of demonstrates it in an interesting way is this song "Crazy" on Gordon, where it starts with Ed playing this great rhythm thing, and then Jim adds, and just the rhythm together. This guitar and bass, they really have it. And then I come in just with some chords and kind of float over top. And that was something I thought I did pretty well, and let them do their thing and was able to add texture to what they did. And then eventually, and there's lots of singing, of course, that's a big part of what I added to the Barenaked Ladies as well. But, and then comes in Tyler with a big bash and a cram, and then off it goes, and there are arguments happening. So like whether Tyler represents what the band had to become in order to be what it eventually became, this very successful pop group, whereas I don't know if you take away Tyler and you add me into the band, I'm very curious about what path the band would have taken. It would have been a different one, that's for sure.
So this is "Crazy" from Gordon. You can talk over this, obviously, like pop-up video.
Yeah, so
I am more than content with the state of mind I'm in, cause I am crazy, just like you.
I get chills even just
I
listening to
am
it.
crazy, just like you.
Harmonies.
And then here comes piano.
I don't think I need a rubber room, but that might be nice. I'm not a manic
Just
depressive,
not getting in the way,
so I
right?
don't need your advice, cause I'm just crazy, just like you.
And this represents early Barenaked Ladies, what you're hearing here.
It's like you.
Great bass playing. And musical, you know, like doing one thing and then responding. And
I'm not playing with the full deck. I've lost my marbles.
And this is,
the lights are on, but nobody's home.
I love singing backup with Steve. Was amazing. Enter Tyler.
I'm feeling short of a load, but I'm full and always hurting my back. I flew over the cuckoo's nest and I'm never ever coming back because I'm just crazy. Just like you. I am crazy. Just like you. I am crazy. Just like you. I am crazy.
And then we added this in studio and never performed it like that. But yeah, it was a Michael Philip Voivoda's idea just to bring it down a tone. And then we did this whole smorgasbord of stuff.
Wow.
There's my Creeggan back there. Samples, and we're doing weird percussion stuff and mics. There, yeah, that's like from the Looney Tunes cartoons or whatever. And that's Martelli playing the guitar.
Real Statics. Yeah.
And that's me in the back on the piano doing all kind of chording on top. And then there's this neat moment in this, it's just sort of moment of magic that only tape can create. Whereas there's Martin doing his thing, it's awesome. But then it just sort of morphs in to Hello City. And it's nothing, we didn't plan it at all. It's just because Hello City recorded, this is right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was just a natural thing because Hello City, a take of Hello City had been sitting on the tape and recorded over it, and we stopped there, and then that continued on. I was like, hey, that sounds pretty good.
That's unbelievable. I had no idea.
Yeah.
This is like Song Exploder crazy from Gordon here. Okay, so Voivoda, by the way, who has been over, you should listen to that episode, Michael.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
You got to hear that. The Canadian classics he's produced, it's unbelievable. So he rode his motorcycle over here. He didn't ride his bicycle like you did. But okay, so we're gonna get, that's Gordon, of course, but I gotta ask you about the yellow tape here. So you gotta find your spot in the band, basically, because Tyler Stewart is the new drummer. Was there ever a moment where you felt like, oh, there's no room for me in Barenaked Ladies?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was just like, And I, struggle with it all the time. And it could be, essentially why I left. I felt like I could leave without affecting the band too much, because it's like, all right, so there's the, guitar going constantly in sort of the mid-range. Jim's got his bass range. There's drums happening. There's vocals happening. There's barely any solos. I don't know if you noticed Barenaked Ladies, but there's not a solo. It's not a solo band. There's singing and then maybe a small little musical thing, but not much. Right. And so
the Beatles.
Yeah, exactly. But they're more solos in the Beatles than there are in the Barenaked Ladies. But so I was kind of thinking, well, what do I play? Like, where do I play it? Like, I'm just looking at the keyboard saying, well, that's that, and this. So, I ended up being really high, or just, doing just chords, or Jim and I would, organize some sort of bass line that we would play together. And so I was constantly kind of asking myself, well, what the hell do I play? Like what do I do? So, and I still ask myself that question. I haven't really been able to answer it, but.
Interesting. I find this all so fascinating. And that extra dynamic that your brother's in the band, like that's an extra dynamic here where to me, it's not like, to me that does change things, right? Like, your brother is a member of Barenaked Ladies. So, okay. You got to add that to the psychological mix.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, I think for a long time, Tyler felt intimidated by the connection we had. And, we represented, the real high standard for rhythm and Ed as well. And Tyler was working hard to live up to it, because we had our own idea about what tempo was. And of course, anybody who's listening and who has been in a band, they know that basically the band is about the tempo and the groove and the rhythm. And so Tyler had a different approach to it. Like he tended to be a top of the beat, and we thought that we had a different thing going on, and he worked hard to try and fit into that. And now they've worked it out, and it's and they've worked out their thing. But during those times, we were always talking about tempo and talking about we sped up there, we did this, we slowed down, we sped up. Usually it was about speeding up. And Tyler, knowing Tyler, you can sort of understand he's a kind of a speed up kind of character.
When I see Barenaked Ladies, typically Tyler gets like a chance to kind of be in Led Zeppelin or something, like or Black Sabbath or something. Like he'll kind of do some covers of some classic rock staples or whatever, like rock out. So always very interesting. But here's a fun fact for you quick before we get away from it too often. So Stephen Page has been over, and in fact his debut, I think, was he was in upstate New York and Zoomed in, but then he finally dropped by with Chris Murphy from Sloan. Mm-hmm. They were doing some Trans-Canada Highwaymen stuff. But it was revealed to me after that, when I became friends with Informer. I was going to call him, he's not Informer, he's not an Informer, but Snow came by, and Snow tells me he is Stephen Page's cousin.
Oh.
So I'm just throwing it out into the abyss. This is as per Snow, Stephen Page is his cousin. I just think that's a fun fact, Andrew. Throwing it out there.
I remember we crossed paths with Snow in Vancouver. We did a show together, but I don't remember that aspect of Snow.
Okay. Well, he dropped that bomb here, similar to when Ashley McIsaac came on the program and talked about Jack White as his cousin.
Oh, now
you never know.
There's someone that I'd like to have a good sit down with, Ashley McIsaac.
He was bananas, but in a good way, like just wild. Yeah. Well, listen, I'll broker that deal. He's in the Maritimes, so we can hook that up here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So where do I want to go next? Because the yellow tape. So, what can you share with me about recording the yellow tape, which I believe was the biggest independent release in this country's history? Do I have that right?
I think you're right. But I don't really follow those things.
That's my job.
I know it's something. It was big, and we had to divvy up the task of selling during our intermissions in our songs, in our sets. So I knew that people wanted it. One of the stories I remember from recording it was that I was already on Canada World Youth, and they wanted to record it, and so I got special permission from the exchange program to hop on the train, leave the program, bring my African counterpart, who had never been, outside of Africa. And suddenly we were on a train, and then we were downtown Toronto. And this guy didn't even speak English. He spoke French and, Kinyarwanda, which is the language of Rwanda. But so Martin Chimnimana was with me while we recorded during the night at Wellesley Studios. And I think it was, if I had Be My Yoko Ono, I think. Anyway, yeah, so that I remember that specifically. Now, I think we have Fight the Power on there too.
100%, yeah. I owned 2 copies of this damn yellow tape back in the day because you were, and we're going to get to this, but CFNY played the mess out of it.
Yeah.
That was my station at the time. And just like similar, and I think this might have had the record for independent release before you broke it, but Shakespeare My Butt by Lowest of the Low. CFNY played the mess out of Shakespeare My Butt too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the 2 I remember from like 1991 local Toronto bands.
It's funny, I grew up, and that's true. Like, Hal Harbour was an incredible supporter, and I thought that was normal, what was happening there, and it's just like I've grown to know that the support that we had, and also the chemistry that we had, and the friction and the electricity we had was not just normal. But I, just coming out of high school, there was this guy, and I thought it was just, it's like bands do this, it's like,
right.
And there was never a doubt in my mind that we were just doing good work and people were loving it, and it was incredible. And just hanging out with Tyler, Steve, and Ed, my brother, of course, hung out a long time before that, so I knew his vibe. But they were just incredible humans. Like their brains were just working so fast, way faster than mine does. And the encyclopedic knowledge, the knowledge of popular culture, just the reference, the back and forth, the witticisms, like all those things were just incredible. And then music making was pretty awesome too. And that's where I chose to really put my energy. But I knew that there was just something electric and incredible. But so the Yellow Tape, and there was other recording. I think I sang on some of the other stuff, but they recorded it without me. I just can't remember exactly.
Well, I pulled one track because I feel like this was the first one that kind of leaked into the atmosphere or whatever from the Yellow Tape. So let me play.
1, 2, 3, 4.
If there's someone you can live without, then do so. And if there's someone you can just shove out, won't do so. You can be my Yoko Ono. You can follow me wherever I go. Be my Yoko Ono. Isn't it beautiful to see two people so much in love? They're naked as two virgins, hand in hand and hand in glove. And now that I'm far away, it doesn't seem to me to be such a pain to have you hanging off my ankle like some kind of ball and chain. You can be my Yoko Ono. You can follow me wherever I go. Be my Yoko Ono. Oh no, here we go. Our life is just one big fun. Oh no, here we go. As Yoko Ono sings I know that when I say this, I may be stepping on pins and needles. But I don't like all these people slagging her for breaking up the Beatles. But don't blame it on Yoki. I mean, if I was John and you were Yoko, I would gladly give up musical genius just to have you as my very own personal Venus. You can be my Yoko Ono. Follow me wherever I go. Be my Yoko Ono. Be my Yoko Ono. Be my Yoko Ono. Be my Yoko Ono.
How does it feel to be Andrew Creeggan and hear that in the headphones right now?
Well, I haven't heard that particular version of Yoko in a long time, and I like noticing all kinds of things about it. Some things like the energy, number one, and there's another good example of just if you take away, the content of the singing, and you take away, all the studio techniques that were overdone. If you just listen to the bass and listen to the guitar, and listen to what I was doing on the percussion, which was further up the mix than I thought it would have been. It was damn loud. But anyway, there's some good playing. And it's full. There's incredible energy going. It's amazing. And, the backup vocals are, of course, overdone. I think we probably tripled them or something like that, and slashed on lots of reverb, and just because it was like, we can do this, and if you sort of strip that down and you just take a look at the music things that are happening, it's just like, it's pretty solid. And then and then of course always add to that what Steve brought to the band, which was great melodies, great singing, and this sort of, I don't know what else to call it, but he had his bent, his kind of dark way of approaching popular culture, and so this joyous, energetic stuff with this sort of mysterious and negative vibes happening at the same time. It's I think that's part of what Barenaked Ladies was.
Well, I know exactly what you're referring to, because you hear it there in this song about, Yoko Ono, and then, of course, he also writes a wonderful song about Brian Wilson.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're doing some conga work on that one.
Yeah. And
I love that song.
That's the one conga bit that seems to have, remained as something that's still around.
Oh,
People
it's
like
key.
The conga part.
It's key. Okay, so obviously we're not just going to talk about Barenaked Ladies, but here we are in the mix of it here, and there's a couple of hot spots. Like, one is, whose decision was it, hey, we should go on Speaker's Corner and sing Yoko Ono?
Yeah, I was away.
You're not even in that Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, I just remember that they did it, and they got some fun, excitement and coverage from that, and they were pretty pleased about it. But
might be even though I know for a fact this is one of the truther things, and there was a documentary about 299 Queen Street West which said that was the first Barenaked Ladies television thing, but I happen to know there was a YTV award that went to BNL before that was like a national television broadcast here, but again, trying to cause up some shit here. Yeah. But we have also June Rowlands, who was mayor of Toronto, and I don't believe this was her call. I believe this was actually, she took the hit on this, but I believe it was like civil servants trying to do their job. But that was very good exposure for Barenaked Ladies when you guys were banned from playing Nathan Phillips Square because of your name.
Yeah, funny business. Funny, it was the first gig Barenaked Ladies ever played was at that place. Wow. Nathan Phillips Square. Anyway, but it hit the Toronto Sun. Yeah. Like the first story showed up and it was on page 8 or something. Yeah. And it was just a thing. Hey, look what happened. Isn't this crazy? And then 3 days later or something, Toronto Star decided to put it on the first page. Yeah. And then it became something crazy. Yeah. And that was, for me, it was a lesson in, interesting.
PR work or something. You're like, yeah, it was like a political correctness run amok, basically. Yeah. I suppose here. Very interesting. I remember this very well. Okay, but and then we played a song from Gordon, which of course is the first official release, right? But the money for Gordon comes from the CFNY New Music Search contest?
Correct.
Okay, so were you there? I'm trying to understand, like, what's it like for the band when you win that thing?
What was it like? I don't know. It was just like one.
Cause that was real cash. Like that was 100,000 or something.
Yeah, we were like, great, man. Let's go to where Rush recorded. Cool, we'll do that. We'll get Michael Philip Voivoda, and we'll record it there, and be able to ski to the studio, and see where Police recorded. All She Does Is Magic, or Everything She Does Is Magic. Everything She Does. So we were like totally excited. But for me, it was just like another detail in the list of incredible things that were happening just in the rise of Barenaked Ladies in Canada. It was, it's just like one thing after the other.
Well, it starts with Hal Harbour, the late great, by the way, who this is more homework for you. Go listen to the Hal Harbour episode of Toronto Mike. There's a lot of BNL talk in that one.
I would love to. He was an amazing guy.
Doug Barron, I want to say, was his name. Doug Barron. It took me a long time. I was listening to CFY Hal Harbour. It took me a long time to realize, it's a fake name for Halifax Harbor. Like, it took me far too long.
Yeah, me too. And I've been hanging out a lot in Halifax, so I'm thinking of him every now and then about that. Yeah. But he was during the rise, during the time, there were certain individuals, of course, that came and went, and you slowly realized who the quality ones and who the sort of integral ones was. Hal Harbour was definitely one of them.
Okay, so you're only in Barenaked Ladies for 2 official releases. So there's Gordon we've been talking about, but you're still there for Maybe You Should Drive. And you did tease a little earlier why maybe some of the psychology behind you leaving the band, but would you mind revisiting this decision of yours to leave the band after 2 full-length releases?
It was actually a marketing decision. You know, I noticed that there was a certain amount of backlash to the band. And so I figured if I left the band, then I could become the champion, the sort of the captain, anti-Barenaked Lady person, and everybody would come to my camp.
Right.
And I could create this like civil war, and it would be, you know, very lucrative. Didn't work out.
I don't believe you though. I feel like you're winking at me on the inside there. But like I must confess that just having known you now for about an hour, about an hour, there is a sense of maybe, this band doesn't need me. I'm not adding enough to this band. Maybe I should exit stage right and do something else I want to do, and maybe go to McGill or something.
Yep, you're not far off, and there, add to that a whole bunch of things. So one of them is, I talked about my love of classical music and instrumental music and jazz music, and you hear some of those influences. Steve Page, of course, was also a classical singer, and Jim, we grew up playing in orchestras and stuff like that. So there's definitely some of that refinement that classical music can bring, and a knowledge of a really huge amount of music. But it wasn't, doing pop music was never something that I aspired to do, and so I was doing it because I was enjoying it, and I enjoyed the people, and I enjoyed the experiences, and it was teaching me tons. And there came a time when I kind of saw where the train was headed, and I realized that it wasn't a place I wanted to go to necessarily. I wanted to do other things, add to that, be some young naivete and idealistic thinking about who I was, and see, like my own young artistic ego that thought that everything was easy. For me as a guy, I wasn't particularly a loud member of the band. And so whenever the band was sort of walking through a crowd or something, I would kind of hang back, and let them sort of do their thing, and I would just sort of come in the wake and just sort of be one of the members of the entourage, and like I do that all the time, and it's to my own detriment often. But they would say, "Oh yeah, Barenaked Ladies," and they'd kind of go, "Oh yeah, Andy, Jim, or Steve, Ed, Jim, and where's Andy? Oh, Andy's back there. Okay, yeah." It's like I wasn't particularly. I was a little bit shy about what the band was, and and through that, I wasn't necessarily that comfortable with being identified with the band, because I didn't feel like it was really something that I was responsible for. I know what I was responsible for, and I'm very, very proud of what I did and how I was able to contribute. But I was uncomfortable with the whole thing and wanted to do other things. So eventually that sort of took hold. Unfortunately, one of the things I wanted to do is, Brothers Creeggan, which was a band with my brother, and me leaving forced him into a really tough spot.
You want to hear a little Brothers Creeggan?
Here's Places. Yeah.
Of course, I had this one pulled.
Interesting choice.
Guest vocalist on here.
Yeah.
Brothers Creeggan.
Produced by Michael Voivoda as well.
There is a place away. There is a place away. On the water slipping with the otter's end. Wishes flying with the fishes. I'm raising in a cloud, being with the geese crowd, rolling down
in space. The cold numbs the body and a place where I wish I learned karate in. There is a place.
Well, she's already been Never Too Hot, Never Too Cold, but this is 1994. Alanis Morissette. I love how this sounds in the headphones, man. So is this like when you decide you're going to go study at McGill, in addition to leaving the band, you got to leave the Brothers Creeggan?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. So,
in fact, we did a tour in the middle of my degree, and I took like semesters off,
okay.
And so I didn't care. But,
gotcha.
Recorded Sleepyhead, our last album, in the middle of my degree. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. That was 2002. Right.
Yep.
I gotta say, kudos to you though that you kind of left for the right reasons, if you will, as opposed to sort of holding on just to see, oh, I'm in this band, we're getting some traction. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll have a #1 Billboard Hot 100 hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know. Like it's just I could see people, oh, I'm in a band. It's tough to get into a band with some traction going. Who knows where this might take us? Maybe one day we'll have the most popular sitcom of all time. We'll have one of our songs as the theme song or something.
Yeah.
Although who would ever dare to dream like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been able to watch, like, for example, my brother, just watching him do his thing over the years and realize, oh shit, man, if I'd have stayed, think of all the people I've been able to meet and maybe collaborate with and be exposed to and meet on a sort of peer basis, as opposed to just someone. And you can't deny the money that they've been able to make too, the lifestyle that they've been able to have, and all those things. It's just kind of incredible to think that they've been able to do that. But then I sort of look at the choices that I made and look at the life that I've been able to lead since then, and the times that I've been able to actually work with them, use my my skills. For example, I arranged a lot of their music for when they play with symphony orchestras. I was able to work with them a bunch of times, and plus they called me in for the children's album in different spots. I appear here and there, and those have been joyful occasions. But when I look at what I've been able to do on my own and the places I've been, and I don't regret one bit.
No regrets.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad to hear it. And you seem content. I mean, you're here for some very sad reasons, but it sounds like you made some choices for yourself that worked out. Did you want to leave the band earlier than you left? Like, for example, maybe after Gordon, you thought, okay, maybe it's time for me to exit, and maybe you decide to stick around for one more. Like, did you leave exactly when you wanted to leave, or did you hang on a little bit just to help out the band?
Yeah, it was an ongoing kind of subject of discussion. I remember trying to leave in the middle of just doing demos for Maybe You Should Drive, and having some discussions with, especially Tyler was one of the important figures in that. We had we had dinner a bunch of times together and talked about it, and of course, our relationship was a little bit more complicated compared to the others, and I think he felt somewhat responsible, and so we had some issues to talk through for sure. So I stayed until recording, with the idea that we would record it and someone else would take on the touring part. And then we decided that, of course, it was kind of ridiculous that someone else do that. So I did the tour And we had a great time. It was good, still good. But once the tour was over and it was time to think about the next album, I said, okay, then I'm done. And it was still, I think, a shock and a tough time for the band, not just because of me, but also Steve was going through some tough times as well. So it was a bit of a dark period for the band. But so it was a bit of a story going through them. And I remember 2 different times when I actually got sick and was kind of having feverish dreams and anyway, whatever. Those, just imagining being out of the band and these sort of feverish delusions and waking up from it going, okay, yeah, something I really want to do.
Oh.
Yeah. And then, going through a couple moments of panic. It's like, wait a sec, I don't know what I'll do by myself. Like, can I actually get by? Like, what about money and stuff like that,
Right.
But yeah.
Well, I find this psychology kind of fascinating because I'm so glad you're here that we could, talk openly and honestly about all this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you making this time. Now, it's worth noting eventually, I guess they did do an album like as a quartet, but then Kevin Hearn, who's been on the program, who's also played with the Rio Statics, and shout out to James B. and the Look People.
Oh, yeah.
I got somewhere. Oh, yeah, there's some vinyl from the Look People hiding there behind Maestro Fresh West. But,
yep.
Yeah, the shout out to the Look People. Okay. And Kevin Hearn joins the band, and how do you think Kevin's doing in Barenaked Ladies?
Well, for me, he's the MVP. That's my opinion. But
over your brother. Get your brother out for that award because Jim's in contention for MVP.
No, I really am a fan of what Kevin does, and I admire his solo project. I admire what he brings to the band, and of course, of all of the people around, I really understand what he's been able to bring, and how he's what he's done, and I really enjoy his output for sure.
Yeah, I think he's kind of fascinating. He was there for Lou Reed at the end of Lou's life, and then he was there for Gord Downey at the end of Gord's life.
Yeah.
He's a remarkable human being, really.
He is. I don't know how that comes about, but he's an incredible artist, Kevin Hearn. Yep.
Jeez, okay. And he still does stuff with the Rio Statics because they put out the Great Lakes album, and Kevin's all over that. So still working with Bedini and the gang in Rio Statics. So.
Yeah, for whom, let's talk about Rio Statics, for whom I have a great deal of respect and admiration for. Dave Bedini represented just this guy who understood so many things that I didn't, and I was just in awe of him all the time. Martin was an incredible artist as well, just natural charisma and talent, and what he was able to do with the guitar and his songwriting, and his also as a backup musician for the other guys as well, was and is an inspiration to me. And Tim, an amazing guy, pointed me in so many cool directions just through chatting. And of course, Dave Clark was the drummer when I was associating with the band, and I loved what he was able to offer as well, and what a great dude he was as well. And so I learned so much from just watching them go, and just cherish all those times and all those learning moments that I had with them.
I just had correspondence with Tim in which he expressed interest in making his Toronto Mike debut finally. But have you, Andrew, had any contact with Martin in the past little while?
Nope.
Okay. Because I know they have an open invitation, but he opted not to join the Rio Statics on their most recent album anyways. But just think about him a lot. I think he's unworldly. I think he's just amazing. So,
I mean, it's, things can happen to people who are so connected to somehow another plane, and it's not necessarily the most stable of things. I can see it kind of in a way in my son, in a different kind of category, but in sports, he has this incredible talent, and I think it's tough on him. And I feel like Martin was similar in that sense. He was sort of in connection to a different place, and it was a lot of us were in awe of him.
Any contact with the other members of, obviously your brother's in the band, you've been in a lot of contact with him recently, obviously all the time, but then you mentioned you're going to see Tyler, but do you still keep in touch with Stephen Page, for example, and Ed Robertson?
The odd communication, yeah. Like, for example, Stephen wrote this condolence message this morning because he reads the newspaper, and including the obituaries, I guess, and sent a message of condolences. And I've worked with Steve actually in the past, where I've arranged one of his tunes and conducted a thing where he played with an orchestra, and so we've actually worked together and have a good relationship. I was never sort of a threat to him, and in that I supported what he did, and
Right.
I didn't have the same, wit or intellect, and so we had a good working relationship, in fact. But and Ed, same. Every now and he'll see something on Instagram or something and think of me and Jim, and we have a thing where we share stuff that we thought the other would dig, and every now and then I get to sit in with the band. And in fact, tonight they're playing in Toronto.
Right.
And lucky old me, I get to play a couple tunes just for old time's sake.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very, very, very cool here. Now I have a song that's BNL and Well Post, the brothers Creeggan, and I'm going to play it. But
Did you say Keegan?
Creeggan. No, I'm thinking, who am I thinking of? Creeggan. I don't know why I said Keegan. Maybe I'm thinking of those Blue Jays transactions and what will Keegan Matheson have to say about it. Maybe that's where my brain's at there. My apologies. But I want to give you a couple of gifts here. So in my freezer upstairs, Andrew, is a large frozen lasagna from Palma Pasta. You can take that back to Scarborough with you.
Awesome.
That box is empty, but it's in my freezer. It's in my freezer.
I'm honored.
Delicious. Thank you, Palma Pasta, for sending that over. I also have some fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery. They brew it right here in Southern Etobicoke. It's delicious, and they sent over some beer for you as well, Andrew.
Fantastic.
Can't believe I said Keegan. That's going to haunt me. I would fix it in post, but I don't edit these shows, so it's going to stay there forever.
Creeggan is one of those names that just gets, just missaid, misspelled. It's just
Well, you know what? No one's going to get the 2 G's right.
No.
Nobody. I get it right because I know, there's 2 G's in Creeggan, but I think the average Joe or Jane or whatever is going to put 1 G in Creeggan.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things we're used to checking.
It's still not supposed to be Keegan.
On my dad's death certificate.
They put 1 G?
Yeah, we had to say,
Oh,
no,
my
there's
goodness.
2 G's in.
Yeah, well, no one sees that coming. That second G just, boom, where did that come from? Okay. I don't know how long you're in town for. When do you go back to the Maritimes? Tomorrow. Okay. Well, at some point when you're in town visiting your brothers, you can go to Christie Pits and catch some Maple Leafs action. No ticket required. Just fill the hill at Christie Pits, get a hot dog, get a beer, and enjoy some quality baseball. That's the history of Toronto Maple Leafs baseball, Andrew. You can read that on your flight back to the Maritimes.
Very cool. I mean, we have our local team in Moncton, the Fisher Cats, who are now, I think, a different name, but I know them as the Fisher Cats. But this will be some interesting read. It's been a neat, to grow up in Toronto, do the Barenaked Lady journey, let it go, experience, French, and then smaller town East Coast. I've got kind of a unique vision on things, and I don't know where my if I'm going to be a fan of these Toronto Maple Leafs or am I a Fisher Cat? I don't know. I'm somewhere in between.
You're a man without a country, as they say on The Wire. Okay.
Yep.
I also would like to shout out quickly recyclemyelectronics.ca, because if you have old electronics, old cables, old devices, you don't throw that in the garbage to end up in our landfill. The chemicals will end up in our landfill. Go to recyclemyelectronics.ca, put in your postal code, and find out where you can drop that off to be properly recycled. And I want to give some love to Nick Iones from Fusion Corp, because he stepped up to help fuel the Real Talk so I can have these long-form conversations with people like Andrew Creeggan. I don't know who that Keegan guy is, but Andrew Creeggan is here, and there's 2 G's in Creeggan. I will always know that. So thank you to Nick Iones. I would like to play a song that's not by the Barenaked Ladies, and it's not by the brothers Creeggan. You ready, Andrew?
Yes.
What are we listening to, Andy?
We're listening to a tune called How's Work. It is from my fourth solo album, Andy Work.
And Andy Work is A-N-D-I work.
Yep.
And this is your fourth, and that was, what, a few years ago now, I guess, 2021.
Yep. It's kind of the product of some of the experimentation I do in studio or writing for instruments or pieces or whatever's going.
So Andy Work was concurrent with the Brothers Creeggan for a while there until the Brothers Creeggan went on hiatus.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar where, Jim and I, Brothers Creeggan was originally an idea or a demo for the next Barenaked Ladies album. And we all quickly realized that Brothers Creeggan was something that was different. And then doing Brothers Creeggan, I would always have some instrumental tunes. So if you listen to early Brothers Creeggan, in fact, right up to Sleepyhead, there's instrumental tunes on there that usually are started with me. And so that was always an interest. So gradually we figured out that the instrumental stuff was kind of its own thing too. So that's where Andy Work came in. So it's just these streams that are breaking off,
So is there plans for another like an Andy Work 5?
Andy Work 5 is released.
Oh my goodness, I'm out of date with my 411 here. Okay, when did Andy Work 5?
What's the research, man? Who's the research?
I'm going to fire my staff. Okay, I got a big staff. They're all going to be in big trouble after this episode, Andrew.
Yeah.
But so when did Andy Work 5 come out?
Andy Work 5, I believe, maybe was a couple years ago.
Oh my goodness, way out of date here. I'm embarrassed here. Okay.
Anyway, I'm working on 6 right now. But
on 6.
Andy Work 5 is kind of a special one in that it's just solo piano with a little bit of delay and with the intent of trying to put my wife to sleep, basically. So I was trying to think about what could I do to help her sleep, because I know she was having trouble. And so I thought about, where on the keyboard I need to play, what kind of things I need to play, what kind of time frames I need it to be. I was trying to sort of find a solution in all those things in my own way. And so that's what Andy Work 5 is. It's kind of its own thing. But Andy Work 6 is going to be a little bit back to what Andy Work 4 was.
It's amazing you have that outlet for your creativity and your musicality. Any chance of a Brothers Creeggan reunion?
I'd say there's a chance.
Because it's been a while, man. I think the last Sleepyhead was 2002.
Yeah.
It's 2026, Andrew.
Yeah, we have enough songs, that's for sure. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it and really commit to it. And we've talked about it. We've sort of made some attempts, and sort of we finally digitized and put it out on all the streaming things. That was a step towards getting something happening with Brothers Creeggan. But the truth about the Brothers Creeggan is that we're now the fathers Creeggan. We had kids around the same time. So when we were together for the past bunch of years, it was usually with our kids, and time to actually jam was, far and few between. We were, doing activities with them, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And over the time, we grew up, we kind of filled each other's, the gaps in each other's musical experience. So where Jim didn't understand drums, I kind of filled that void. And where I didn't understand bass, he was the bass player. Like I grew up, we were two trees that grew up together. And then since being apart, we've both of us in our own way have filled in those gaps. And we kind of don't need Brothers Creeggan as much anymore. And so we've kind of moved on in a sense. I feel that way, but I still feel like it may happen still, but we've got to deal with our dad, our family business for the moment, and that's the first thing on the table. But it's just one of them things.
Well, as part of the mourning process, I know it's different for everybody, but add John to the Brothers Creeggan, you could record an album for your father.
That's a good idea. I don't know what John would do. he did. I don't know if you know the brothers, the Blues Brothers. We did "Everybody Needs Somebody," and there's that big speech by Elwood.
Yeah, right.
Well, John did that for us. He put on a fedora and he did that speech, very, very admirably, by the way, because he's a pretty shy guy.
Okay.
But I don't know what he would do on the next thing. Maybe we could record his voice or record his conversation.
Or give him a triangle or something.
I don't know. Triangle is not the best because everyone hears the triangle. Maybe something. I'll think about it.
You think about that. Okay, so just before because this has been amazing for me. I mean, I'm sorry about the circumstances that brought you back to Toronto, but I'm glad we were able to connect like this. And I guess I'm wondering, like, what consumes? I mean, your father. I'm sure you're busy, but what when you go back to the Maritimes, obviously you're mourning the loss of your father. But beyond that, what consumes your time? Like, you're working on Andy Works 6.
Yep. Andy Creeggan or Andrew, both answer to both. Basically, my life is extracurriculars from high school, so music and sports. That's my life. So musically, Andy Works 6, as you mentioned, my composing career is kind of taken off and taken a real nice turn these days. So I've got some really nice commissions. I just finished a big one, and I'm jumping into another one soon. So I'm enjoying the classical side of my life right now. And that's going really well. So it's kind of fun. And then I also play in a band called Lab. And that's been fun just to, we're kind of jazz, instrumental, progressive, electro. And that's been fun to get into the synths and stuff like that. And it's been a fun journey. And then sports, as you can see from my T-shirt, I'm heavily into ultimate frisbee and coaching, and I'm sending off the New Brunswick junior team to the Canadian Championships just this week. So, been following there, and my son is coaching it, and so it's a
big family affair.
Yep, big part of my life is the whole sports business.
Well, I enjoyed this very much, Andrew. I've been calling you Andrew the whole episode, even though I kind of want to call you Andy. I always knew you as an Andy, but then when we were corresponding, you were Andrew, and I'm like, oh, he wants to be Andrew.
Yeah, I actually had a little moment. I was like, what do I sign? Do I sign Andy? Or I had to go up in the feed to see what you called me to see what I would sign. I answered to both. It kind of depends on the context.
Right.
Like my wife calls me Andrew, and my parents call me Andy, and Anglophones tend to call me
but
Andy.
B&L fans always knew you as Andy.
Yeah.
Andy and Jim. That correspondence that got you here, did you see how far back I went? Like, so I wrote that initial email saying I'd like to talk to you was several years ago, I think. And I just, randomly, because I had a little time because my youngest kids are in Edmonton this week, and I had a little time, and I'm like, I'm going to follow up with some people that I bugged like several years ago, just in case.
Right.
And it worked. You're right here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think Carol from my record company didn't forward on the first one.
Record company, right? Never got it to you.
And then she forwarded on this reminder.
Okay. So I just followed up. Oh, by the way, you were going to say something about the importance of French. I took a little note that you want. I didn't mean not to come back to that, but did you want to speak for a moment about? You mentioned the importance of French in your life.
Yeah, big part of it. I mean, the gal. I mean, it's a long story that started with immersion way early. But basically, I married a French gal, and we spent a lot of time in Quebec and a lot of time in Sherbrooke, and of course, a lot of time in Moncton and in the Acadian community, and learning what life is like as a French speaker and in a minority situation. And it's been a big part of my life, and we brought up 2 kids and basically in French. So it's a big part of this guy's life anyway.
Well, that explains the good accent I hear.
Maybe.
Thanks for doing this, man. I'm going to get your lasagna after this, and we're going to definitely take a photo by Toronto Tree. And you're going to tell Tyler that maybe it's time for his return.
I'll put in a pitch for you.
That should be your first line. Tyler, it's time for you to return to Toronto Mic'd.
Well, you guys have clearly some things to talk about.
Lots has happened since his first visit. I just love the guy. There's a guy named Banjo Dunk. He's in Whiskey Jack, which was Stompin' Tom's band. By the way, Stompin' Tom's comeback, you can tie it directly to the aforementioned Dave Bedini.
Huh?
The comeback was sparked by Bedini finding him and telling him Canada needs you. He was like 11 years retired.
Right.
Anyway, so it all comes back to the Rheostatics. But
Interesting.
Whiskey Jack, this guy, Banjo Duncan Fremlin, plays hockey with Tyler Stewart. And at some point, like a decade ago, Dunk goes to Tyler and says, "What's your favorite podcast?" And Tyler Stewart tells Banjo Dunk, "Toronto Mic'd." There you go. And then the rest is history. And that brings us to the end of our 1944th show. Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love to all who made this possible. Again, that's Great Lakes Brewery. Andy's got his fresh craft beer. Palma Pasta. I'm going to get him a frozen lasagna. You might have to give that to your brother if you have time to eat it before you go back to Maritimes. I don't know if you want to fly with that, but I'm giving you a beautiful big lasagna. Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. Andy's got his history book on Leafs baseball at Christie Pitts. Nick Iones from Fusion Corp. RecycleMyElectronics.ca, and of course, Ridley Funeral Home. Who's next? Andy, I should know this. What kind of operation is this? Okay. Coming up next on Toronto Mic'd, it's Rebecca Rankin. Rebecca Rankin. See you then.